On an active industrial floor, every operational decision and budget allocation ultimately hinges on two precise concepts. But walk any site, and you'll hear hazard and risk used interchangeably by site managers and frontline workers alike. Treating these two words as the same thing strips them of their utility. It reduces rigorous safety assessments into a paperwork exercise. That confusion creates a gap between the promise of filling out a compliance checklist and the daily practice of actively keeping a worksite secure. We are going to break down the strict functional difference between a hazard and a risk. Getting this right changes how safety is managed and executed. Transitioning from passive documentation to active prevention requires this conceptual clarity. Precise definitions are the starting point for decisions that stop incidents. A hazard is an absolute, fixed source of potential harm. Think of the constants in an industrial setting: a high-voltage electrical panel, a tank of corrosive chemicals, or the drop from scaffolding. When you identify hazards, your input is pure observation. The outcome is a mapped inventory of every potential physical danger on the site. Stopping at identification reveals what could go wrong, but provides no data on the actual probability of an occurrence. The hazard itself is a dormant threat. That high-voltage panel remains a continuous hazard within the environment, even if the room is completely empty. Risk is the active, dynamic counterpart. It calculates the actual chance of harm occurring, combined with the seriousness of that harm. This diagram illustrates the conceptual math of safety management. Risk equals likelihood multiplied by severity. Likelihood depends on context, fluctuating based on environment, maintenance, and worker behavior. Severity measures the potential physical consequence, ranging from a minor bruise to a fatal injury. While the hazard remains a constant absolute on your site floor, the risk level is volatile and requires daily reevaluation. Calculating this specific risk metric gives you actionable data. It provides the concrete numbers needed to justify a safety budget or authorize an operational pause. Exposure acts as the bridge between a hazard and a human being or asset. Consider a sealed drum of highly toxic chemical stored in a restricted vault. The hazard is extreme, but with zero human interaction, the exposure is contained, resulting in a low practical risk. If that exact same chemical is placed on a busy factory floor in an open container, the underlying hazard itself hasn't changed, but the risk profile increases immediately because the human exposure factor is severely high. Because eliminating every single hazard from an industrial process is rarely possible, the core job of a safety professional is to rigorously manage human exposure. This diagram visualizes the hierarchy of controls, which is the strategic framework used to systematically lower the risk variables of any given task. At the very bottom is personal protective equipment, or PPE. This provides immediate compliance through gear like gloves or hard hats. However, with PPE, the underlying hazard remains fully intact. Worker safety relies entirely on human behavioral compliance. Compare that approach with the top tiers of the hierarchy: engineering controls and elimination. These tiers require higher upfront capital and operational redesign, but in exchange, they physically separate workers from the hazard through machine guards, ventilation systems, or by removing the danger entirely. The highest return on investment in safety management comes from controls that lower the risk profile by design, rather than relying on humans to continuously avoid a hazard. It's an industrial reality that creating a completely hazard-free work environment is an impossible goal. This matrix shows the objective: cultivating a rigorously risk-managed workplace. Noting electricity on a checklist drops you in the high-severity, high-likelihood zone, leaving the site vulnerable. Safety management evaluates variables like guardrail quality and worker competence to move that probability into a safer quadrant. Organizations choose between superficially documenting dangers to fill out a checklist or actively intervening to control exposure. We identify hazards, but we manage risks. Keep this distinction in mind when overseeing operations, writing protocols, or approving safety budgets. To keep sharpening your operational approach, subscribe for more visual, practical HSE insights. Precise terminology in the corporate boardroom translates directly to saved lives and highly optimized operations on the site floor.